Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program. I am Cosmic Ancient and we are going to be playing a pretty heavily modded game, and we're going to be playing it on pretty difficult settings. I'm going to bring up the settings page here in just a second. The list of mods I will make available shortly. It's a very long list. They all come from CCAN though. So there's our difficulty page. It's all of the quick reverts are off. But I've increased the money and science rewards just so there's less grind. So here's the first rocket that I've put together. This is obviously just a little sounder rocket. We're using a procedural solid there with the standard capsule and a real chute parachute and a FOSSA launch clamp. And so off we go for a nice fun little trip up. This first one, it's mostly uneventful. The only unfortunate thing is I underestimate the fuel, so we don't actually get to the 5 kilometer contract that I had taken for this. And you can also see that I'm flying this with a scientist, not a pilot, so I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to keep it pointed straight. I find it easiest though if you're going to fly a scientist very early or an engineer. That first launch is an easy way to get them halfway to level 1, because you're just not going as high, so you're not going to have to fight it for quite as long. You know, if I was going for 11,000 meters or into space with a scientist and no SAS, that would be really, really difficult, and I don't want to do that. So I think my plan right now is I'm going to start flying double capsules to train up my scientists and my engineers, especially the scientists, because I plan to have a nice, yeah, there we go. We ran out of fuel there just at about 3.5 kilometers. So recover some science. And then I also forgot to adjust the parameters on the real chute. So it fully deployed at 3 kilometers up, and we had to watch it gently glide down for several minutes. But anyways, I want to train up some scientists because I'm planning to have a few bases and space stations scattered around the solar system later in the game. I've got MKS and OKS installed, at least I should, making sure they didn't actually get taken out, because I did remove carbonite, which I was originally going to play with, but I just didn't see the need to have the mineable resources in this playthrough. So there we go, we're on the ground doing a little bit of science with Science Alert. You can also see there I've got Kerbal construction time installed, but for everyone's sake, I am cutting out any of the time warp that I have to do between launches. But I do still want to have it there because I feel it puts a really important, extra added level of difficulty there as it pertains to rescue missions. So if a Kerbal gets stuck, in orbit around Minmus without enough life support, I am using TAC life support, there's a good chance that I'm not going to be able to get a rocket out to him in time, unless I've already got something being built that would be able to pick him up for whatever reason. That's pretty rare. So here we are. We're going for another launch attempt, so I just increased the fuel and forgot to increase the thrust. So we sit here on the launch pad and watch the rocket burn through its fuel supply until it reaches a TWR of greater than 1, which is pretty awkward and embarrassing, but this is the cost of progress and of science, right? So there it goes. We're finally just barely taking off, and because that thrust was not high enough, and because we had to burn so much of our fuel sitting there on the pad, this rocket didn't make it to 5 kilometers either. So this one just basically goes up. It is being flown by a pilot though, so we at least got a little bit more experience. At least I think it's being flown by a pilot. I can't actually remember now. I'm going to have to write down the names of all the Kerbals and have them on a cheat sheet in front of me. Otherwise it's going to get very difficult to keep track, but it does look like this is a Kerbal flying it, because I'm messing around. But I did remember this time to change the real chute properties so that we don't have a 5-minute descent after the rocket burns through. But yeah, this one, I think it only reaches about 100 meters farther than the last rocket. Yeah, we're down to only 35 units of fuel, and we're only 1.5 kilometers up, and we haven't even broken 100 meters per second. You can also see up there on the left, Kerbal alarm clock. I've bookmarked our first 2 transfer windows to Eve and Duna. In my experience, I've never been able to meet those when you're playing with Remote Tech and Kerbal Construction Time. It's just really, really difficult to be able to get up a communications network that's capable of reaching Duna and Eve before 220 days or 1.5 years. It has not happened for me. So there we go. We're finally falling back now. Yeah, I think we only made that 3.6 kilometers. Parachute deploys at a much more reasonable altitude, but there's still a little bit of a wait time as we descend. But, you know, regardless, it at least got us a little more science. You know, rocket launches are never going to go off perfectly, otherwise it wouldn't be called rocket science. A few of the other mods that I'm using here, I've got Nova Punch installed. I've obviously got procedural parts, procedural fairings, procedural wings, B9, Ferrum Aerospace, Deadly Reentry, which is turned up to the hardest setting, because I really like that extra added challenge from Deadly Reentry. I found the default setting to just be way too easy. I never had anything blow up on me. But if I plan to make a space shuttle, which I'd like to do a space shuttle, it'll definitely be a challenge with the Deadly Reentry. So yeah, we got 21 science, and we got our funds back at least, because we're recovering the entire rocket, so we're basically only paying for fuel. And I go ahead and unlock survivability here. I checked out stability and general rocketry, but survivability is generally the best for the radial parachutes as well as the life support. Life support is really important in a career mode playthrough on really high difficulty, because you're going to be going all the way out to the Mun and Minmus, and if you've got remote tech, you probably can't go there unmanned first, so you're going to need to send Kerbals out there, and you're just not going to have the life support to do it unless you unlock survivability. Even beyond that, actually, what you really need is solar panels, so you have to stretch pretty far to the bottom of the tech tree. So here we go. I just go ahead and I'm going to add 2 mystery goo canisters, I believe, to this. I'm also going to unlock a few parts for later. I don't actually use them. But yeah, I add 2 mystery goo containers to this so that we get a little bit of extra science. And I'm going to increase the fuel one more time, and I'm going to increase the thrust this time so that we don't have the same problem as last time. I also have universal storage installed. I haven't actually played with this before, so this will be my first time going through on universal storage, but it should be fun. So there we go with the goo containers. I'm just going to put 2 right on the side. Just don't want to block the hatch or anything silly like that. But I think that's pretty much it. And unfortunately, we cannot adjust the parameters of real shoot before we launch, I think, until we get action groups. So for now, I'll have to keep doing it. Yeah, I make it a little smaller there so it's a little sleeker. For now, we'll have to do it every time at launch. But I think that looks good to me. So let's, yeah, I'm going to rename it to 1.1 since we added the goo canisters. But it's time to go, and I'm going to take a measurement here on the ground, and then time to go. Oh, my staging is messed up there. Now it's time to go. Yay! Much better liftoff this time. And I've got Smokescreen FX installed as well, so we get these gorgeous smoke trails as we take off there. Up and away. I'm going to take another mystery goo while flying at Kerbin. Unfortunately, we're not going to get up into the upper atmosphere on this one, so that's kind of the only 2 uses for the goo canisters on this mission. We are going to land, I believe this one lands close to KSC. I either landed this one at KSC or in the water. I think I land this one in the water. So we don't get a mystery goo measurement from the water, unfortunately, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, I'm just mucking around with Raspberry Prop Monitor. That's another favorite of mine. It makes so much better IVA experience. So here I do a little turn towards the east to make sure that we go out over the water, because I'm now confident that I'm going to hit the 11 kilometer contract height that we had taken for this flight. So I just mosey on over. Actually, this might not be the 11 kilometer. No. This is the flight right before that. This one, we'd only taken the 5 kilometer, and I'd gone so far past it that I wanted to make sure that I didn't break 11 kilometers, actually. Because if we did, we wouldn't be able to take that contract in the next one. But the flight went pretty well. We just started coasting on down here. Gotta love those Kerbal aerodynamics. This is, even with far, things seem to like to flip out a little bit. You'll see on the parachute deployment on this one, it's a very Kerbal parachute deployment. Yeah, and just at the last second, I'm gonna remember, oh yeah, right, I need to adjust all my deployment altitudes. And then pop it right at the last second there. Only 400 meters above sea level, a little bit less above the ground there. But it all happens all right. We don't lose anybody. I'm very happy that we didn't lose a single Kerbal in this first episode. When you're playing with settings that are turned up like this, it's very possible. So we fall over there, and unfortunately that means the hatch is obstructed because of the direction we fell. So I spend a few minutes here trying to figure out if I can turn the ship, because I really want to get this science from this biome. We're over in the grassland now. So I'd actually turned, I had turned west instead of east. So you can see me kind of flopping around there. The SAS isn't quite strong enough to do it, but eventually I start picking up the idea of rocking it back and forth. And that will eventually let me kind of roll it on over. And then I can pop the Kerbal out, do a little more science. Also pull the crew report out of the capsule so that we can take another one. And this is a really effective way of getting science. This is all the credit for these kind of techniques goes to Scott Manley. He is the king, and will always be the king. There we go, jump back inside, and this flight is done. Yep, we recovered most of our funds. We got some nice science there, so we can go down and we can unlock stability, so we can get some radial decouplers, which are going to be really useful. And I just check, yeah, we're all loaded up. There's not really any good strategies or campaigns or anything right now. I do generally take the one that'll give you a little bit more funds and take reputation. But that's because I just want to get these buildings unlocked as quickly as possible, especially the vehicle assembly building and the launch pad. Those two, the restrictions on those are just killer, and the tracking station is really important as well. You also might have noticed that I removed Jeb, Bill, and Bob. And that's because I just don't like playing with them. I played with them for so long that I really enjoy having a diverse group of Kerbals, which is why I also have diversity Kerbals in here. So you'll see Kerbals with much different hair colors and skin tones and some feminine features. So until we get, proper female Kerbals in 1.0, this will have to do. But yeah, just a few small changes here. I just increased the fuel by a little bit because we came so close in the last one. And off we go again. This time I am going to turn towards the east, almost right from the start, so that we come down over the ocean this time. We can get a little bit of water science. So sounding mission number 3. And this one goes off incredibly well. I'm flying it with a pilot, so I don't even have to fight with the controls. I just give it that little gentle course correction at the beginning and watch it go. Looks like our little Kerbal friend there is quite enjoying himself during this launch. He looks about the right mix of concerned and excited. And there's that beautiful smoke trail. I pulled out to take a look at it because it's pretty hard to see it when you're up so close. Yeah, we're only one day away from researching stability, which will be nice. I think maybe on the next launch I'll stop mucking around with this and I'll either go just for out of atmosphere, or I'll go all the way for orbit. Yeah, I turned over a little bit at the last second there just to make sure that I pushed over into the water. And adjusting reel shoot once again, and now we nosedive down. Kerbal starts to look a little bit more concerned at that point, and then there's the lovely Kerbal aerodynamics. Parachutes in pre-deployment, and the ship is hanging sideways, but it figures itself out. And we make a nice gentle splashdown at 4 meters per second. And I do our mystery goose science there from the water, pop the Kerbal out, and the ship tips backwards. And I've got another new mod here called Better Buoyancy, which I've never played with before. And the Kerbal sinks. Sure enough. I had not expected this at all, so I had to swim around for a minute trying to figure out if there was some way that I could bring him up. I was trying shift, like if you were in space, you could hit shift to use your EVA pack to boost directly upward, but that didn't do anything, and control didn't do anything. And I tried the keys for docking to see if that would help, but nothing really seemed to help the poor Kerbal get back up. But I finally just decided to hell with it, and I take the EVA report, pause the game, and resort to Google. And it's apparently a known bug, because Kerbals are the mass of a human being, but much smaller. So that's that. And we get our science, we get our funds, we get a little bit more from recovering the ship with the other science reports on it. But that's about it for this episode, guys. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.